Hi everybody and welcome to the InspoGAO. Unfortunately, Nick, my favorite co-host, isn't here today. He is, not sure where he is, somewhere around the world performing. Nick, miss you. Can't wait to co-host with you again, but in his place, we have Mr. Abraham. I'm sure you've seen him last episode. Okay, so but for the people who have never watched episode 2, haven't had the time to watch episode 2, Abraham, give a small introduction.
Hi everyone, so I'm Abraham. I'm from the Faculty of Art and Design as well as the Center for Lifelong Education in NAFA.
Today, we have a very special episode because we have a very special guest. We have Mrs. Tan. Hi! Okay, if you don't know, let me tell you. Mrs. Tan is a NAFA UAS's president, but not just that. She is also the Deputy Vice-Chancellor for University of the Arts, Singapore, right? Now, Abraham, what do we know about Mrs. Tan?
What do we know?
Besides her title, official title.
Know that she is probably good with numbers because she used to be a math teacher, if I'm not wrong.
Apart from you being a math teacher, what else? Share with us a little bit more about yourself.
I think one easy way to describe what I do, I am a people developer.
What does that mean?
I enjoy being with people, right? I've been a teacher since, when I first started. So I'm an educator through and through. So I spend most of my time, talking to people, talking to faculty members, my staff. I attend meetings, to work together with my colleagues to see how best we can facilitate, learning in the school. And in this case, of course, you're talking about NAFA. How we can make the experiences of our students, a much more engaging and great experience. Yeah.
Now, next question. Okay, let's keep it also very easy. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
What is your order?
Actually, mine is more Chinese tea. Chinese tea. Yeah, and I drink all sorts.
All sorts? Before food, after food, morning, evening?
No, not morning. It's always, I would say always, yeah. After food.
After food?
Yeah, and for practical reasons.
Practical reasons, which is?
To cleanse my palate, to help in digestion.
Okay, now your turn. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Okay, what is your order?
Tea, not coffee, because coffee helps me to function, but tea helps me to function and remain polite.
Okay. Again, outnumbered. Coffee, from season 1. I haven't changed. My order hasn't changed. It's still coffee. Usually second cup by 9 a.m. Okay, just letting you know lah. So if you catch me at 5 p.m, my eyes could be like that. You should know that out of caffeine for that day. Now, fun fact. I don't know if you think it's fun, but it was fun for me. I actually, me and Lisa Tan, we are schoolmates. I actually bumped into you over at NIE.
Yeah, when we were waiting for transfer.
Yes, and I was like, you look very familiar. And I'm like, it's Mrs. Tan. And then, of course, you said hi. But what are you doing at NIE actually?
Oh, okay. So right now, I'm doing my studies, my part-time doctoral studies.
Oh, in what are you majoring in?
Education leadership.
Oh, cool. Okay. So, how was your transition, right? Because you were from the mainstream education, from what we can say. And then you were a math teacher, and then you were also principals in multiple MOE schools, or MOE institutions. And you transitioned to the creative industries, or the creative institutions. How was that transition for you?
I would say I'm very fortunate, to be where I am now with all of you. So I started out as a maths teacher, and at that time, of course, I would never even think of becoming a principal, and for that matter, becoming president of NAFA, right? I'm fortunate in that sense. I'm always very grateful that I had so many different experiences. I always tell my students, even my own children, my relatives, the younger people, that we must always embrace whatever opportunities that come to us, right? Even if you think that it is something that seems boring at first or not so interesting, or maybe it's something very difficult, just be open-minded about it. Just embrace the opportunity, go and learn, learn from other people, and of course then, work out how to do things better. And like you said just now, really, I think looking back, all these different experiences help, expose me to all the different issues, how to work with so many different people, and yeah, I think all these are really wonderful skills that now I bring with me. It's like a bag full of tools, like my treasure trove.
Yes.
Yeah, of all the experiences, all the things that I've experienced that really come to support me in what I do in NAFA. Yeah.
If you watch the previous episodes, especially in season 1, so what me and Nick Hugh always mention is say yes first. Always say yes. And then you learn on the job. And then you always say yes to opportunities, especially the opportunities are widely different, right? I guess that's how you learn. And that's how you grow, right? And then also, you mentioned you had experiences transitioning from MOE to NAFA. With that, what was the first thing you were given that was vastly different when you first joined NAFA? Was it like a culture shock for you?
Culture shock? Not really. But I tell you something very interesting. To me, to this day, I still remember. So when I knew that I was coming to NAFA, of course, I quickly, even though I know where NAFA, or I knew where NAFA was, right? So I came down over the weekend to take a look at the place. And then what struck me was, how is it that, this is the beautiful NAFA, and right in front of the campus one, instead of the word NAFA being very big and prominent, it is actually Toast Box.
Toast Box, yes. If you don't know, campus one.
But what I wanted to share is that, when I went, the name of the Toast Box was just as big as the word NAFA. Yeah. And so in my very naive mind, I was thinking like, shouldn't NAFA be very prominent? Why is there, this? Yes, it's a very helpful place, right, for people to meet. But shouldn't we be more prominent?
Now that's T-list.
After I joined NAFA, and that's when I fully understood, how things work and so on. Then I realized that it is actually a very important source of, income. Right, to help us run NAFA, right? But I'm very grateful to Toastbox. They were very understanding. So what we did was we then made a request, right? Everybody already knows about Toastbox, right? Being there. So instead of having the name, the sign being so big, are they okay to consider having it a little bit smaller and a bit lowered? So that one look you will still see NAFA. So this is, maybe in that sense, it's a fun fact if you don't already know. So this tells me a lot about NAFA and our stakeholders. I think we enjoy very good, working relationship. So even a request like this, was very well accepted. And back to, your original question, you were asking me how I felt, right? When I first joined. I didn't feel that stark difference in the sense that it is an education institution, which, for my whole of my life, my career, I felt very comfortable. But one thing that really struck me were the students and, of course, the staff, right? The students looked to me really, very cool, very creative, and very, very passionate. Yeah. So, they are always busy, moving from one place to another, busy talking amongst themselves, right? So I never felt, I want to interrupt. But when I really stopped to talk to them, when they are showcasing their work and so on, wow, like you almost like you cannot stop them. They will be explaining and sharing what they have done. So that sense of pride and passion in their work is very, very eminent. Yeah. So that really stood out for me.
The moment you give your students a chance to speak about their work.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It really shines, especially they get so excited and they're like, oh my God, it's like me on coffee, They're like, oh yeah, I was very excited. Yeah, it's really nice to see.
Yeah, Jack, question
There
is
has to be some difference in, on teaching or leading a government school as compared to NAFA. Is there something that was challenging?
Maybe not so much as a challenge, but I feel perhaps it is a bit more about myself, right? That like we said, I'm a maths teacher. I'm not an artist. I'm not a designer. So that little worry myself, right? Whether I would really be accepted by my colleagues. Who are the artists, the creatives, right? Whether they would think that, hey, how come, my president is not an artist, a musician? Yeah. So I think it's more that, for myself, that little sense of insecurity, yeah, whether my colleagues would think that, I am suitable for the role.
Question is, for both of you, actually for all three of us, what does success look like for our students, especially you when you were looking at the metrics for MOE students, and is it any different for students in NACA?
Yeah. What does success look like? I think if I share from the point of view as a maths teacher, right, the academic, of course we have all our milestones, all our different exams, right, the academic aspect. And that one is quite straightforward, right? But I think when it comes to, like NAFA, the first time I meet all the students at orientation, I always like to use this story. Maybe some of the students will remember this. I always congratulate them, right, for joining NAFA, and I say that you are the fish that has finally found the ocean. That they, in the school system, it is a general education. We have to learn our maths, English, humanities, geography, what have you, whether you are strong in it or not, right? Because it's a general education, you have to go through all that. But in the course of their study, right, because they have different strengths, and some of them start to believe, have this unhelpful belief that maybe they are not so smart, just because they are not good in some of the subjects, right? But those of the students who come to NAFA, they are actually very talented, very creative, and very good in their art subjects. But unfortunately, I think in the school system, the general education, I think even if they do art subject for their O level, it's only just one subject. And they could be so-called not doing well in all the others. So they start to have this unhelpful perception of themselves, that maybe they are not strong. So I really use that opportunity, and I always want to use that to encourage them that actually they're just different, and they are creative and talented in different aspects. And finally, now you have come to the place where your talents are recognized, and your talents are what we are wanting to continue, to help you hone your skills and be better at. So I think success for me, therefore, is about enjoying what you do, doing what you love, and doing that to the best of your ability, right? And to every one of us, I think our finishing line is not just here and now. But I think life is such a wonderful, right, journey. You really don't know what is in store for you, right, later down the road. Yeah, so I think there are so many different forms of success. There are so many points in your life whereby you may or may not have reached the finishing line, right? Whatever that may be. Yeah, that I think we want our students to always continue to believe in themselves. So I think the best part about being a teacher is, you actually see them grow, and then you see them leave the school. But actually, sometimes they come back to your life, right? So I didn't know this until, of course, when I came to NAFA. Then I realized that, actually, there was this student of mine when I was in Anderson Secondary School, right, as a principal. There was one student that was really not interested in studying. Right? In fact, we were always running after him and say, hey, you got to come to school and so on. And before this session, I actually asked him for permission first. I said, can I name you?
Okay.
Yeah. And he said, yes, please. In fact, now he's a teacher. Okay. So he said, yes, please use my story. So at that time, I was worried for him as a principal, and I continued to look out for him. But of course, then he left school, he graduated already, right? I can't remember, Sec 4, or did he do his Sec 5, right? And then further down the road, he contacted me and asked me for a reference.
Oh, okay.
And guess what? The reference letter to apply to NAFA.
Hey.
Yes. But at that time, again, NAFA wasn't in my mind space yet. You remember, I was, in MOE HQ, in different schools and all that. But I was very happy for him. So I happily wrote for him. And then after he got in, he informed me. Again, I didn't think anything about it until he invited me for his exhibition. I still have photos of it. Yeah, younger version.
Oh,
visiting him.
What was this?
Yeah. Maybe more than 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, he is Lau Eng Seng. He gave me permission to talk about him. So, he came to NAFA, and yeah, we reconnected. And so I feel like, as a teacher, sometimes we come a full circle.
Okay. Now that with all of these experiences, yeah, has the measure of success changed for you? That not just for yourself, but for your students?
At least for my students, I think success really just means doing a little bit better than they used to be.
Yeah.
Yep, doing a little bit better of each time. And for every cohort of students that graduates, my one-liner kind of encouragement to them would be to always just do well in everything that they do and do good in everything that they do.
I don't know, because usually during the grad expectations, every year, I'm a little nostalgic, you know? Right? And always, especially during the runway show, there's the culmination of 4-5 years worth of work. And then I always look at them, at one point of time, you don't even know what is a sewing machine. That's right. You don't even know what is a pair of scissors. You don't know how to hold a pair of scissors. Now you are creating collections. So in my mind, those are measures of success, right? Growth and progress. And I know it doesn't look like much, especially for students who have been in MOE schools, and they see, I never get A1. I never get A, star, A plus. But for me, when I look at it and I see that, hey, you have a whole collection that you created yourself, by yourself, that is a measure of success. I think that is not spoken about enough, right? Especially within our education system.
As parents, we just want the best for our children. It's just that sometimes we don't know what it means by the best, right? And then we always just refer to the convention, and then we want the same, for our children. So I think typically a lot of people think that, it's tough, right, to make a living, so-called, right, as an artist, designer. Although things are changing, right? There are students who also tell us that now their parents are, more open. Now for a special announcement. NAFA convocation for our diploma graduates will be happening on the 3rd and 4th of August at our very own Lee Foundation Theatre. This year is also the first University of the Arts Singapore NAFA convocation for our degree and master graduates. And this will happen on the 7th of August at the Singapore Expo. During convocation, we encourage all of you to participate in class giving, which is a student-led initiative to help NAFA juniors in the diploma and degree programs. Class giving donations will go to the NAFA Education Fund.
All right, Mrs. Han, so you've been in NAFA for 5 to 6 years now. Is there a specific moment in these 5 to 6 years that have really stayed with you, something that you still think about?
There are just so many moments, actually. But if I choose one, maybe I talk about the recent grad show. Many of their works really, inspire me. And I think in particular, I want to mention Tiffany Ong. Yeah, one of our BA Fine Arts students. From afar, her works, you can't really tell. You only see, dots on the wall. So when you go near, it's actually the little tiny things are actually ribbons. Yeah, ribbons that are made using crochet of fishing line. Yes. And I can't remember how many, maybe 10 times 30. So 10 times 30 means 300, right? 300 of all these little ribbons. And every time she does it, she will time herself. And I thought, hers is just one of the many examples that I want to talk about. You talk about the moments where you hear the stories, right? The inspiration behind each and every one of their work. Yeah, and make you also reflect on, some of your own stories, your own journeys that you have gone through. But it is all these moments when we see the difference that we have, made for our students and how they themselves have grown. Like we said, right? How proud we are to see their journey and how they've grown. That really makes, coming to NAFA every day such a beautiful and meaningful one. The truth is, indeed, it is always about the passion, the belief in themselves, right? And how they are resilient and be able to really confront their own vulnerability. Yeah. I say that because I think as an artist and designer, I talk to them, I see them, I can see how, I think sometimes when you do your work, you really don't know how it's going to be received by others. There'll be people who love your work, and there'll be another group that will absolutely hate your work, right? So how do you manage, all these feedback, reception from others, and how do you stay true to, what you really want to do? It was about how many years ago? About 4 years ago, I also endeavored on this my own creative project.
Oh.
I finally published my memoir, right? So at that time, I didn't think of it that way because I already wanted to do that 10 years before. And finally, I did it, and I did it when I was in NAFA, right? When I look back, I was really very glad that I did it because I felt when I finally published it, I could appreciate and understand how our own students go through, our creative students go through, that journey.
Parallel.
Yes, that's right, yeah. And of course, I also would love other people, right, to want to read, to know more about what a life of an educator is all about. After I finally did it, and then when it's published, and that's when I really felt so nervous, like, oh, what's other people going to say? Yeah,
Right, but the reception.
Yes, and that is when it sort of clicked, and I truly appreciated that must be how all our students, feel.
What's something you learned from the students?
Our current generation of students, they are very open and they are extremely bold. Especially when it comes to either their point of views, be it something as simple as, no, I don't like this artist because it doesn't the artist don't align with my creative endeavors or doesn't align with my political views even. Now our students are far more sensitive to this, which is incredible.
I think that there might be still some prevalent perceptions that, an education in the art or design field still, offers you a very narrow career choice. How would you respond to that?
I guess I will approach it in two ways. First, I think I would want to help the parents, right, appreciate that what is more important to the child is to do something that they really, really like, they really love. And do something that they believe, they have strengths in, rather than to do something that someone else's child, is good at. Those who really eventually enjoy what they are doing, and they do very well, are people who are doing what they love. Yeah. So I think I would love for parents to really think about what their own children really love and what they are strong at. I think it's easier if you build on your strength, than on something that you think is very useful and very important. Because we also see a lot of people when they are at work, if they don't do something that they're happy, they are miserable. Even if they may have a lot of, the pay is very high, they may get a lot of money. Money cannot buy you happiness. Yeah.
I think this ties back to our first episode with our previous guest, Carmen.
right? And then Carmen was, in the completely different field. And then she eventually found her way back into NAFA. And now she's within our ecosystem, right? So eventually, she came back into the arts. Because that's her calling. That has always been her calling.
So first is really, I think, go for something that you really love, right? And you will find the happiness. Okay. Then the second part is what you said, that actually it doesn't mean that you go to an art school, you graduate, you must only do directly what's related to the arts. And in NAFA we teach them so many different skills, right? Interdisciplinary skills and so on, working with a diverse group of people. So a lot of all these skills are actually applicable to so many things that you do. And now we're also talking about the creative industry, the growth and the creative industry, right? Being able to create a lot of opportunities. But beyond that, I think with all these special skills, knowledge and ability, they can actually go to so many other different things. Yeah, transferable. I think all the earlier episodes we talked about. And we are really seeing many of our graduates coming back. Quite interestingly, one of the students told me that he was very quickly asked to go to this company to, I think, train people to play chess, Then I said, what has it got to do with your training? He said, as a theatre person, the company see in me a very confident person who knows how to engage, who knows how to, see things from other people's perspective. So really, I think it's really up to the imagination of the individuals. Yeah, but many of our classmates, they might have graduated from their science degree, and even now we hear, right? And it doesn't mean that they've wasted their time. All the different skills that we learn can actually help us. And I think it is really kudos to our students for being resourceful. And we are now also seeing a lot of students doing portfolio career, whereby they teach. Many of them, with their whether it's their training in their music, art, and so on, they go and train. They become art teacher, music teacher, and then in their other free time, they take on projects. Yeah, industry projects, work with different people, being commissioned to do work and so on. And all that actually gives them a lot of flexibility to enjoy what they do.
I think especially now, with the way the current job market has shifted, we're no longer looking at traditional roles. We're no longer looking at one person do one job, right? We're looking at a more holistic individual. Yes. I think that's NAFA has really allowed our students to be trained that way. And so our students, like Mrs. Tan, you mentioned just now, our students are not stuck in a box, right? They are able to move past their practices or move past their formal education. Now it is time for our favorite segment, which is questions from Omar. He will reach out and take a question from this very mysterious mark that will enter from his right.
So the question, which is Mrs. Tan, after many years in education, what still gives you a sense of meaning in your work?
I think seeing students grow, seeing students learn and fulfill their potential.
Yourself?
Myself? I think the conversations with students, especially, would you agree with that, the corridor conversations?
I think that, especially when you are in a place of power, because as educators, you are seen as the responsible adult, right? You are not very approachable to a lot of students. I think being approached gives me a sense of, hey, you know what? My students trust me enough to tell me things. I think that keeps me going. And also, of course, sometimes you think that, oh my God, I think I did such a bad job at this class. Oh my God, my students are falling asleep because I teach some history modules. But at the end of the modules, I receive some postcards and say, oh, I love my history lesson because of you. That really keeps me going. Okay, next question.
What would you say to a student who tells you that they feel they are not good enough to be an artist?
I imagine sitting this person down, and instead of us answering the question directly, I think I will probably want to engage the student in a conversation to share about what are some of the things that he or she has done, actually where his strengths or her strengths are, and then reflect that back to the person. That actually you may think that you are, not good enough, but actually you have already done this, and you're capable of this, that. Yeah, I think some of us are always chasing for, the impossible, because we have always been taught to aim very high. We have such lofty goals, and fail to see what we already currently have. Yeah, what we have already achieved. Every time we achieve something, we will just chuck it one side and then still look at where we're supposed to go.
We had many conversations with a number of students, especially during submission. So with that comes the questions of, am I doing this right? Am I doing it properly? Well, if I do it this way, will I get an A? My question to them would then be, what do you want? It's not about what I want. It's about what do you want, right? Who are you as a designer? Who are you as a creative? Who are you as an artist? You want to follow the rubrics to a T and then get an A star, A+, sure, fun. But that does that reflect who you are as a creative? Because in school, I do tell my students, in school is where it's the best time for you to make mistakes. This is also the best time for you to explore, right? Who you are as a creative, who you can be as a creative. Instead of, enough or not, do you like my work enough? Now, we've come to the end of this episode. Thank you so much, Mrs. Tan, for joining us today and enlightening us about your experiences coming from MOE all the way to NAFA. And, thank you, Abraham, for sharing your experiences also. Thank you, everybody, and I will see you next episode.